clear the area that the trees will grow back, because we will deliberately plant trees and put in back the vegetation so that it gets soil cover and retains its original natural beauty over time. Yeah, you understand? So anywhere you go in Dominica, one will see the impact on the environment. And you will see the impact of any quarry operations. Some of them are along streams. Some of them, all the sediments go into the sea. It will impact fisheries. It will impact the coral reefs, and it will impact the way of life of many people. We've had many studies on those things. If you go to take it to Vegas, you'll have challenges there. If you take it to Portsmouth, you'll have challenges there. Anywhere in Dominica, you'll have challenges. And the just imagine transporting material from the West Coast all the way to the airport site. The number of communities is going to be impacted. You see the impact on the roads, for example, just between Debosh and Pig already. And so even that has to form, that is forming part of the responsibility of the developer and the contractor to reinstate the roads after this project, because they're the direct cause of the impact of the roads with the heavy equipment. So all of these things have been taken into consideration. Now, when we decided to build the airport, we did a number of areas, studied a number of areas, and Debonch was one of them. Was one of them. But one will appreciate that the sheer amount of material that you need for the airport is either the country takes a deliberate decision that is going to import all of the aggregate and sand from another country whose environment would have to be impacted as well. And we speak here, Dominica, about imports, about foreigners, about foreign this and foreign that, import thing, and why we not using our own natural this and buy local and eat local. How do we therefore justify that we're building an airport? We're building an airport that you need the material. And with this runway and the type of soil that we need, this is why CRFI, and I give them credit for that, they're very deliberate with the engineering, very careful with the engineering. And this is why they say to us, Prime Minister, for us to give you a sound runway, because we are building a runway for an Airbus to land, a 777 to land. And if you're a 777 with 600, 500, 400 people to land on the type of soil there, you must have the correct aggregate, the density. So it's not about we have stones elsewhere. It's the density, the quality of the stones. That is important. Not every stone you can use for every kind of construction. And I'm saying so based on advice. All right? And so they wanted to get the proper density. They went to Anstime, they went many places, and they said to us, Prime Minister, this is the area that we can get the quality of stone that we need based on the tests that we have conducted. You understand? And so, and I think that every action is taken to mitigate against the impact. And the Ministry of the Environment and Planning have given advice and suggestions on how to mitigate against certain things. And there's a long list of actions that are being incorporated in the process going forward. I accept that we have to enhance our communication. We have to enhance our consultation. But I would caution those who are publishing statements based on hearsay and to not go and publish statements that can have a consequential impact, an existential impact on our survival. But there's some people who are opposed to the airport, and they believe that they got an opportunity now to speak not about they've been against the airport, so the rest about the bunch. And we have to resist. And resist we shall, those who believe that Dominica doesn't need an international airport. Dominica absolutely needs an international airport. Absolutely needs an international airport. If we want the country to get where the country is going to go, to bring the kind of revenues into the country, foreign exchange to the country, jobs for the people, more people can be part of the prosperity of the country and realize the dynamic Dominica that we are talking about and we're implementing. We need the infrastructure. This is why we have to build a new port, because it cannot be right that every time a Christmas comes, we're not getting our goods because there's a high tide, the boat cannot dock, then we have a cruise ship, the cruise ship docks for the day, the boat, cargo boats out. We have to have two dedicated facilities, one for cruise ship and one for cargo boats, because more and more people want to come to Dominica, and we have to ensure that we can facilitate them. We can facilitate the trade that's coming in. That somebody should not be staying outside the Woodbridge Bay and seeing the cargo ship out there. Their goods that they have to sell for Christmas is on this boat, and Christmas is coming. And Christmas is coming. So when we decide we're gonna start the port in Canefield, we're gonna have an impact on the marine environment. We'll have an impact. You must have an impact. People may not be able to go and bathe on the beach there anymore. There's a sacrifice that we have to make. Find a beach elsewhere if you want progress. That's the reality. These are the realities. You build a hotel, there's a beach, you take out the stones from the beach, crabs die. You're affecting the ecosystem, the natural habitat. But we need the hotel rooms, we need the jobs. So these are the realities that we face in this country. And I feel sometimes a bit despondent as a little country, because every time you have to do something that will benefit the people, we embroil ourselves as a nation. We embroil ourselves as a nation on negativity. And ask myself, is this country mine alone, or does it belong to everybody? It belongs to all of us, and all of us must play a part. We must have views, we must have different views. I accept that. But let our views be one to advance, not to hold back. You understand? But anywhere you go with the quarry. So to go and bring a geologist, what is the benefit of being a geologist in the country? Who is that geologist? What are you going to tell you? What's the motivation? You understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, people are free to do what they wish to do. But at the end of the day, we must put Dominica first and not our personal motivations. That's what we have to do. And so I accept this stuff, and we will take all of the necessary actions. Take all of the necessary actions to mitigate against the impact. But we cannot say elsewhere and not tell me where elsewhere. Do we get it from St. Vincent?
All right, Dominica, you heard the Prime Minister, and we have the professionals here. Of course, I said two ecologists and one soil scientist. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves at this time. Should we start with the foreigner? Yes? How you doing? Just kind of move a little closer to the microphone. Can you tell us about you?
Yes. Okay.
Yes, tell me.
Hello, everyone. So actually, I'm an environmental engineer.
Right.
I have my bachelor's and master's degree in environmental engineering, and I'm doing my doctoral degree in environmental engineering at Princeton University. What I study specifically is geochemistry and water chemistry. So how mineral interfaces and the things that come off of these minerals interact in the water, as well as contaminants. And
That's it.
that's my
And you're from
background.
Puerto Rico also?
Yes, I'm from San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Gary, again, just introduce yourself briefly.
Nice. Good afternoon, everybody who's listening. My name is Gary Ogis. I did my bachelor's at the University of West's Caville campus in Barbados in biology, and I did my master's degree also in biology, but particularly in research. I've been sort of the face that's been out there posting videos about what's going on, trying to create outreach and education just to educate the masses on factual information.
Janelle?
Hi, everyone, again. Thanks for listening in. I am Janelle Brisbane. I am an interdisciplinary ecologist. I have my master's in tropical forest ecology from Imperial College London, and I'm currently pursuing my PhD in ecology, because why not, at the Université des Antilles in Guadeloupe.
All right, so let's hit the ground running to say you have listened to the Prime Minister. What's your feedback, just to start the conversation?
Yeah, so if it's okay with y'all.
Yes, thanks.
Systematically, I want to break down a little of the things that he said.
Just turn the microphone to you a little bit so we
Like
can
this?
hear you every word. Yes.
Okay. So one of the first things he was mentioning is about mitigation. The thing with mitigation is that you cannot do things after. If you're trying to mitigate some of the effects that he's mentioning, you need to have a proper environmental impact report, and the mitigation solutions start from there. before they begin. The second thing is you cannot plant, for example, native species, other types of vegetation that he was talking about when there's no topsoil to plant them in, which you have to do if you're creating a quarry or a mine or any type of extraction site like they're trying to do at Dave Wash. The second thing I wanted to mention is that he's talking about how development, any type of development, will have an environmental impact. And I agree. However, if you do it without the proper environmental impact assessment and the proper assessment of the materials in that site, have you now destroyed an environment to find out you don't even have the proper material? And that's something that we can talk about later on, because I have a colleague who's studying with me at Princeton, who's a civil engineer, and she does cement for a living. So she will talk more about that, and I'll read her bio later on.
Okay.
And thirdly, a lot of mention of studies, but I'm not sure what studies have been done, because the geologist, Dr. Simon Mitchell, had come, and when you go to the site, he was mentioning that you can see if they've sampled the rock, because the type of evidence they leave behind in the site would show them that they have done these things. And he said that he has not seen any of that evidence, which means they could not have already tested the material to make sure that it's appropriate for the airport.
So you say no testing was done from your knowledge?
In his expert knowledge from going to the site and visiting many sites like this, he says that it's basically impossible that they have tested these materials, because he doesn't see evidence of that. It's very specific things they would have to do in this site for it to look like they have tested that material.
Gary?
Yes.
What's your take back from what you heard from the Prime Minister?
One of the key take-backs I took from the Prime Minister was that they do everything to benefit the people. And in the situation of Dave Wash, I don't think the people were involved in the decision-making for that site in terms of doing the EIA or the surveys before anything happened. All this should have been done prior to any excavation. And so if he's really say he's doing everything to benefit the people should have been contacted.
Okay, Janelle?
I mean, I echo what both my friends on my right have said. My thing is, I mean, why not bring a geologist, right? If we are concerned, as concerned citizens, we have every right to investigate the matter. And the geologist should, by right, if they had done the proper testing, confirm what he is saying. So there should be no worry with us bringing our own professionals in to be able to do our shadow reports, which is, again, our constitutional right to do so, which we did based on our concerns. But the reason we had to bring the science in is because the community has not been previewed to any of the technical reports. Had they had given us the reports, there would have been no need. And we are still to this day waiting and asking all the relevant agencies, physical planning, forestry, Ministry of Environment, which other ministries are out there, the developer, MMCD, CR5, all of them, for their relevant reports, whether that's a MOU linking the site to the airport. Because remember, Matt, when we first came on, we weren't talking about the airport. We were simply talking about what happened at Dave Wash. We just want to talk about Dave Wash. So if they say it is relevant to the airport, then please provide us with the necessary evidence linking the site to the airport, because based on what we've seen, there's nothing tying it to the airport in writing. And if, they did their geotechnical studies, if they can please pass that along, which is, again, our right to have access to.
So you received no reports from the...
We have received no reports from any agencies or any agency related to that site, whether it's the developer or a regulatory government body. We've not received any reports.
So I think I underline there, he believes there that you guys have a motivation. What is your motivation? That's what you think?
Our motivation, I mean, first and foremost, we're Dominicans, and our honorary Dominican over
Right?
here. Our motivation is to protect our home space like our ancestors have for thousands of years. Our motivation as youth is to be able to live on this planet for the next 50, hopefully more years in a healthy environment where we don't have to go to war over water and food and resources, which is where this world is going to with this definition of development that is driving our world into despair and strengthening hurricanes and so on. This is our present, but also our future. And that is our motivation because we want to see a generation come after us and after them. So we are putting our foot down as the youth of Dominica and saying our motivation is to protect our space and to protect the people who exist here with us.
I see part of the conversation. He says, actually, it seems that you guys, I never heard you in your discussion speak about airport, but he seems to bring that up all the time. Do you have a problem with the airport, Gary?
No, I don't have any problem with the airport. First and foremost, we approached it looking at Daywash because we're concerned of the river pollution. And then we're also concerned about the encroachment on our protected lands. And these are the primary things we're focused on. And further, we looked into it, was like, okay, what is the purpose of what they're doing? Are they mining? Are they quarrying? What are they looking for? But we were not focused on the airport. We're just looking at the environmental impact that is affecting our natural resources as well as our people.
I was at that conversation that took place earlier this week in the Carib territory, and I saw actually that you broke down, like you felt so emotional about what's going on there. Why do you feel so deep about this situation?
Matt, that's a good question. I want to share that my grandmother was actually indigenous in Puerto Rico. And what this situation is just not sitting right with me or my spirit. So in that moment, I just got very emotional because we could not protect the indigenous people in Puerto Rico. But Dominica has the opportunity to defend their rights here and do things differently. Things that we could not do at the time. Now we know better in so many different ways. The world has shown us how we should live and preserve a lot of this heritage and culture. So honestly, I had to break down for a second and then bring myself back because one, we were in a very spiritual place. And I felt my grandmother's spirit there with me. And I knew I had to be there to talk about this. Because one thing she always taught me as growing up is to always protect nature. And that's one of the big reasons I have a profession now in this space is because of her and all the things that she taught me through her own indigenous upbringing. Yeah.
What you've been here for a while. I'm sure you've done your own research. And what have you discovered about Daywash that you should tell?
Yeah. So from a scientific standpoint, that area of Daywash has the ability to not only just greatly impact some of the oldest groundwater routes that Dominica has, it also has the opportunity to damage surface waters that go directly into some of these communities, like the Kalinago territory. The reason I say this is because from my research, I know that Dominica has 90% of their population on the coastline. However, because some of the oldest rocks in Dominica are in the area where Daywash is, it also means that that's the older roots of the cave systems that Dominica has for groundwater and sedimentation. So if you were to do a project of this scale, and you guys can correct me, I think it's like 160 acres or so, you would greatly impact not just the river that's right there, that people are already seeing great impacts to. You're impacting all the way to that coastline, all the way to the surrounding ocean. Because those minerals that are there, or rocks, are so old that it had time for minerals to also crystallize on top of them, which means a lot of them have things such as arsenic, lead, heavy metals, so on and so forth, that are not good for us, not good for the biodiversity. So now when we disturb that very old bedrock that formed with the earth and formed with Dominica millions of years ago, you now aggravate such a delicate system and you start just throwing plumes or arsenic and lead into already iron rich systems.
Mhm.
And essentially, what's happening here is that you're not just talking about now arsenic or lead, for example. I'm just going to stick with those because those are very standard things that we'll find in these minerals. What happens is the soil itself is made up of different particles. So you have your carbon, nitrogen, plant debris, etc. When those particles from the soil start interacting with those contaminants, those heavy metals, they all have a different electronic charge, which means they're able to move through the soil more easily than water. And once they enter the water, you're looking at those same particles, those same organic matter particles are now transforming the species of the arsenic, for example, turning
Changes.
it into more toxic arsenite.
Ah.
Because when you have iron rich areas such as Dominica, such as Des-Bois itself, you also have the organisms that feed off that iron, and they can transform your normal elemental arsenic that is still harmful, but now turns it into a more harmful species. And that happens for mercury, that happens for lead, and that happens for any other contaminants that we don't even know are in that area. And that's actually the problem here, is because of the type of minerals that are in there in that site.
Mhm.
There's so many of them, and they're so ununiform, means we don't know what type of contaminants and dissolving into the water we're going to see until after it happens, or if we do enough extensive studies of that area in itself. And that's like a high scale look at everything that's in that area environmentally. Me as an environmental engineer, the things that I would be worried about if we were to do that. And one of the things I was mentioning
Mhm.
at the beginning was the Prime Minister is saying, yes, development and ecological impact, you cannot avoid them when you do these type of things. However, if you are going to do these things, there can be a balance. And I know he talked about balance in an earlier speech he had on Monday.
Mhm.
The type of rocks, and Simon Mitchell, the geologist, talked about this, and my guest, my colleague, will come on and talk about this too. The type of rocks and minerals that are present in Des-Bois would not be good for the airport. And that's what he's saying they're doing. They're quarrying for rock aggregates.
Because he said the engineers told him that's the best that he can get.
Density is not the only thing that you need. You need uniformity. And I mean, I could go into this, but I'm not the expert. So I think it's a good time to call our expert and to talk a little bit more about how density is not the only reason, but there's also a few other things in that site that are extremely concerning to say you're going to use into the tarmac of the international airport.
So the engineers may be giving wrong advice based on what they know.
But what do they know?
Good question. We're going to come back, Dominica. We're going to come back in a minute. All right, Dominica, we're here with the experts. Of course, I'm hoping that of course, the authorities are now listening there, and of course, we're going to try to get the expert at this time.
And the darkness runs away. The Lord is my light, I won't be afraid. He's my salvation, my debt's been paid. When the wicked rise, they stumble and fall. My heart won't tremble, I've heard it's called. The Lord knows the same Most High. I won't bow down. He hides me safe where no one can find. In his secret place, peace fills my mind. He lifts my head above But my foes and pours His mercy, Lord, it overflows. Whom shall no one hear my strength? His voice I won't lose sight. The army rise up, surrounding my soul, but my faith stands firm. It keeps me whole. One thing I see, one thing I crave.
Are you
Well,
are you there, Ellie?
Yes.
Okay, just hold on there for me, please. Hold on.
Emmanuel,
As you said, you're about to
well,
share a bio.
Yes.
Read the expert. Yes, continue.
Do I share? Okay. So, Ellie Wasserman is a doctoral student in the Sustainable Cements Group in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at Princeton University. She earned her bachelor's degree in material science and engineering and civil and environmental engineering from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT. Throughout her studies, her research has looked at how concrete is made and worked across scales, from the atomic scale chemistry of cement and aggregates to new lower carbon cement alternative materials, and insights from ancient Roman concrete. Her work aims to improve the long-term performance and durability of concrete while reducing its negative environmental impacts.
Ellie, good afternoon to you. Welcome to the Talk on the Block. That's the name of the show. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Well, I'm happy you could join us here for this interesting conversation. Ellie, we want to talk about this afternoon density. Help us understand, more about density.
Yes. So before the break, we were talking about how the Prime Minister had mentioned that the rocks in Des Bois are dense and that they tested them and they're dense and that makes them adequate aggregate for concrete. But Kari very correctly mentioned that density is not the only good or important measure of a good aggregate. And the chemistry of it does matter, and it matters a lot, actually. The reason it matters a lot is because cement is not a very easy environment for a rock or a mineral to find itself in. It's very basic. It has a very high pH. It's going to react if there's any elements in it that it doesn't like. And so if you have any minerals that aren't fully understood or are problematic minerals, you're going to have these secondary alteration products. So for Des Bois specifically, and I am going to be drawing from Simon Mitchell once again, the geologist who was mentioned a few times, his work in the area had seen significant quantities of pyrite. And pyrite is that fool's gold, shiny, it looks like gold, but what it is an iron sulfide. And Des Bois is very iron rich. You're also getting a lot of iron richness because it's located in an area that had this years and years of alteration. The rock isn't just old, it's also located in an area that had a lot of fluids moving through it and changes over time. And you're getting a lot of additives that the original basalt there didn't have. And as a result, you're getting this pyrite, this fool's gold, this iron sulfide. Iron sulfide has sulfur sulfide in it. This sulfur, if the rock gets crushed, it goes into the cement, it's going to react over time. You're not going to see this in a month. Maybe you won't see it in 2 months. But in 3, 4, 5 months, in a year, you're going to have cracking, swelling. The aggregate will expand. It's going to crack, and it's going to crack your cement. If you're thinking about an airport or a tarmac, having a flat surface, I would think is very, very important. You want the safety of all of your passengers. And I think it's very hard to ensure that if you don't know all of the minerals in your aggregate. And especially, I think pyrite to me was a very large concern because that's something that you try to avoid having in your aggregate.
If you were consulted to, of course, to do some work on the airport, what would be your recommendation in terms of the best material to cover that airport? Do we have it existing in Dominica?
I believe so. I do think the volcanic basalt is a great starter material. I think not the issue with Des Bois material, but the sort of issue there is because it's more inland, it is a different geologic environment than some of the coastline areas. The coastline areas have much more uniform basalt that hasn't had all of those later term alterations I mentioned. And so you're not seeing a lot of the clays. It's been exposed pretty much to the air. And so anytime that something's been weathered or changed, it just went off into the ocean. The kind of base rock has remained. Where in Des Bois, you're seeing the base rock is different. You're getting clay, you're getting a bunch of other things that I don't think the evidence is there to say that we fully understand. And I think that that lack of full understanding there versus an area that is better understood or less altered on the island would make it a stronger candidate.
So you're saying a lot more research has to be done before they explore.
I believe so. And I do believe there are areas on the island that have well-established, more uniform rock than Des Bois. I think that this area is one that has just the geology of the areas are different. I'm not a geologist, so I can't talk too much to geologic history there. But my understanding of the two areas is they are geologically different if you're inland in the island or if you're on the coast.
Tell me something, because a lot of what is happening is we mix in a lot of clay with cement. Is that the best way to go?
So it depends what you're doing with the clays itself as well. So I also, part of my research in that alternative cements looks at clays, and you can use clays with certain considerations, but you look at the purity of the clay, you look at the particle sizing of the clay, you look at where the clay is, and clay can be a great additive, but it can be harmful. The harm in the clays in the Des Bois basalt is they would be kind of surrounding the particles, and they're going to prevent those aggregates from binding well with the cement and giving a weaker system overall. You can directly add clay to the concrete or to the cement sort of separately in a very controlled fashion. But once again, the issue is not really having a measurement of what types of clays, how many, where are they, and what type of processing is being done on the aggregate before it gets put into the concrete.
Let me see if my panel here have any questions for you. Any questions from you? Go ahead.
Well, I want to say thank you, Ellie. You're crushing it. That was excellent. I think one thing that she was mentioning with the two sites is because Dr. Simon Mitchell had mentioned Crapple Hall having more uniform rock or basalt rock flows in that area. So she's mentioning that the rock where the crusher already exists or where they were already quarrying for stones is a better alternative than Des Bois that have all these extra variables that we have to keep in mind.
Okay, if you need to ask a question, feel free to call us there. Anybody out there who want to ask a question to Ali at this time, feel free. It's 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, or 616-4257. These are our numbers. Unless if you have a question, feel free. Any take back, Janelle, from what you just heard from Ali?
No, I agree with Carrie that she is crushing it. Great job, Ellie. It's nice to meet you. But on the note of Dominica have an aggregate to use for the airport, I think we also have to remember what Professor Mitchell had said, that regardless of the area in Dominica, it requires that same extensive test to be able to put that on the runway, the taxi, the apron, whichever part of that airport. Because it's not just about us having good material, it's about it meeting international standards. Because if they use the material, it could be good for regular roadways, for building construction, but an international airport is a whole different thing that requires a lot of international testing. And again, we just want to make sure that they have done these tests and are able to present these tests to us so that we can have full confidence in what they are doing.
Let's see if we can take a few phone calls. Are you there, caller? Yes?
Yes, I am.
Yes, go ahead. Ask the question.
Yes. Okay, to the professionals here. I believe that the reason we are where we are is because the things that should have been done before. You're going to have a project as large as an international airport, and there's no consultation with the public. There is no environmental and all of those studies done. What you're talking about, rock density and chemicals and so forth, all of those things should be done before approval. But no, our leader is telling us that when we decided to build the airport, we decided, who is the we? He decided to build an airport at any cost. And regardless, so right now we are in the middle of it. And so whatever you get picked, now anything you say is because you are against the airport. And I think this is very, very this is not right. That a leader has to lead you that way. And so we are having this damage being done. Now we have professionals. I heard him say a while ago, why do you need geologists? Well, geologists are professionals. They are the ones that know about soil and rock formation. You need them before you can decide how you're going to, or whether or not a site is suitable for a particular project. So I think, according to the Calypsonian, we go in Duvernay. What should have been done before is being done. Now we are doing it. And he's still resisting. So I don't know where we go from here, but Matt, I think you're doing a good job exposing this thing. Thank you, sir.
And thank you. If you need to call, you better call now. We have all the experts here. Again, 449-3095, 449-3096, and 449. The point that I'm getting here, the horse has already left the stable. So why are we going back there? We should have done all this research before, we keep talking. Yes,
Before I answer that, I want to shift the focus a little bit to the developer, Montreal management, because in the community meeting, the same thing that people are saying, these studies should have been done before.
Mhm.
We actually told that to the representative of Montreal management in the community meeting that we should have been presented with geotechnical studies. It should have been done so that they can at least identify where in Dominica is best to harvest this material from. And they told the community that how can we expect them to do this study? A study like that is too expensive.
Really?
That's what was said in the community meeting. So again, that is why we're calling for this for this test, for the report, so that we can have full confidence that the necessary work was done. Because people also need to understand, if this is for the airport, yes, the airport project is so far along already. No, we are not against the airport, because again, we are well-traveled people who would love to keep traveling and experiencing life and trading. We know the value of the airport for trade, especially. But if they use the wrong material, it doesn't matter how far along the airport project is, that airport is not going to open. So we just want to make sure that this airport is doing what it needs to do to meet international levels and be as safe for our Dominican people and the international people who are going to travel on that airport.
Let's see if we can take a phone call. Are you there, caller?
Yeah, Matt. Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, yes.
Yeah, excellent program. Matt, I just want to call upon you, Matt, to do not forget, Matt, after we do all this talking on the stage, you got to raise some money to challenge the government, Matt, on this issue. Please, that's all I want to ask you this afternoon. When we finish this talking, we have to find some money, put some legal work in place to address this thing in Dominica. That's what I want to ask of you, please. God bless.
God bless you too. Let's take another phone call. And yes, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Mr. Belte and your people there.
Yes.
I am not know much about it, but I like science. Okay, so I read many in a book that there were some people in some land, and they were living in a valley. Like there was another man who studied about the land, everything. So he was calling them from below and tell them, "Do not dig there, do not build this, do not." They were hearing him, but they were not listening to him. And one day, while they were still there, the whole land something like a avalanche came down, and they rolled down, and it had a good amount of people in this place. And everybody died. Not even one survived. You understand? There are times you speak to people, they hear you, but they don't listen to you. And when you can only hear and not listen, you will get destruction. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's say again, Ellie, you've been listening there for a little while there. It's important to have the conversation with the people. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. I think
absolutely. You can't be doing this right now when the project is already started.
I think that's the difficult part, and that's the part that keeps hitting home, doing these technical reports, which is honestly a bare minimum. It's not just that it's the regulation and the standard for the country, but it's also the correct thing to do, not just from an engineering perspective and from an environmental perspective, but from an ethical perspective. I think saying that that's too expensive as an excuse to bypass it is absolutely inexcusable. And I think that the community's consulting should come after all these technical reports. We saw that was skipped. We see the community's consulting is also skipped. So it's very upsetting.
So too expensive is not an excuse. Should not be an excuse.
I don't think so. Not if we're talking about the type of material and the safety of not just the region and more immediate mining impact, but also the safety of the actual airport if you're thinking about the material being used.
Let's take another phone call. I think we're getting more phone calls, Gary, and we have not focused on you just yet. Hello, yes?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you to the team of young people for your contribution so far. I have a question, and I'm not sure between the last time they were on with you and now if it has been mentioned, but can any of you speak to any recovery of the environment, both at what has already been done at Dave Wash, and as Ellie mentioned, if we had to select another site, or just generally in development for Dominica, do you know of any way that nature can recover after we have, gotten these materials and dug out and destroyed the area for development?
You wonder. I think I've heard you attempt to answer that question before, because you have dealt with situations like that, and we've had years in trying to fix that problem. Yes.
So
Go ahead. Yes. Yeah.
one thing I had mentioned when I was on the territory was that I spent 3 years of research for the Department of Energy, and we were specifically looking at mercury remediation because they were throwing the mercury waste into the creek or the surface water in that area. And this happened in the 1950s, and we're still trying to recover it today. One of the things is that depending on what is at that site, and when you do some extraction activity such as quarrying or mining, the impact is so far beyond what nature is able to recover, maybe in one lifetime or two or ever. And that is what is concerning. That is why tests need to be done before, because a lot of those things can be predicted. If we know what's at the site, we know what contaminants, we know what minerals we have there, and the process by which we're going to expose them into the surrounding environment, we can put systems in place during the activity. And even when you put in place things during, you're only mitigating. So mitigating only means that you're trying to perhaps not do the utmost damage. You're trying to reduce it, but that doesn't mean that damage is zero. And in the case of what they're trying to do, if you exhaust the land in that way and extract those resources, the land is not even usable for industrial applications, not for agriculture, and certainly not for animals or other biodiverse species to live in that area. And that's why there has to be urgency with this matter. Because if you do decide to destroy the environment or that site in this way, you better make sure that the rocks that you need are in there. Because right now, all the evidence is showing that it doesn't exist. So to do that, cut costs for tests, not communicate with stakeholders, then do that. You're talking about remediation scale projects that are on the millions. You already said tests are too expensive. How come the remediation is going to be affordable?
Less expensive.
So that logic just doesn't make sense. So the answer is there are things you can do during, which comes from tests before, and perhaps you can do things after. But if we're already skipping tests because of affordability at the beginning, we will not afford remediation projects after.
Let's take another phone call. Ellie could stay on the line there for a few more minutes and we'll allow you to go, okay? Hello, yes?
Hi, good day. I just want to say congratulations to the young people who are speaking up, and I was very pleased to see the social media presence and the informative pieces that they've released. And I really just want to encourage us to, those of us who have the understanding and the expertise, and those of us who know better, to speak up, because what they're saying is extremely true. There are not only, we're not even speaking on a national scale, it's an international airport and it has to comply with international standards. And we cannot continue to compromise our own island because we market ourselves as a nature isle. And so in everything that we do, even in the name of development, we need to preserve our nature island. And if we continue to develop international airports, tourism sites, hotels, and we've seen it over and over again, and we ignore the reality of having to do environmental impact assessments and so on, then we will destroy our most prized possession, that is Dominica and the island of Dominica. And so I believe that not only those of us who don't, it's not necessarily my area of expertise, but I do realize, and I think Dominicans as a whole, despite of any other alliances or just as a matter of concern of the one island that we have to take care of, to listen to these young people and the people who have been speaking about these concerns and for a number of other projects. And I just want to continue to encourage you all to speak up. And those of us who know better and those of us who are concerned to add our voices to yours. And so I just wanted to encourage you all in this way and to just let the public know that you don't have to be an expert. You can listen and discern nonsense from sense and add your voice and your support to those who know.
Caller, thank you. Thank you very much. I want to better understand it because we talk EIA all the time. Can you explain to us as an environmental engineer what involves the EIA? Speak to us. Gary, and again, I'll come back to you guys in a minute. Yes.
Well, before we go there, I just wanted to answer back in the previous question when you said that can the area recover after all this excavation? I don't think the area would ever fully recover to what it was before, because topsoil takes hundreds of years to make. And after the excavation, you have removed all that topsoil, you've removed all those rocks, and now you have to start over. You're going to need these pioneer species that could latch into the rocks to help degrade it. And then after the pioneer species, you have secondary species that will come and help create that topsoil. You're going to need hundreds of years of leaf litter to create.
Hundreds of years.
Yes, exactly. And so we could even look at on the west coast of Dominica, where we have a lot of mimosas. All these lands were used for agriculture, and the land was exhausted from that. So now you have an invasive species like the mimosa that is very advantageous and will use what little resources it has. Now it's pushing out the native species that we have in Dominica that could use that space. And now we see it spreading, and now we have wildfires on the west coast, and it's increasing its area every year. So I'm not saying that mimosas will grow in Dave Wash like that, but it's going to take a while for that area to recover. And to say that we have scientists and we have people who could make the area much better after the excavation is done, I don't believe that's possible. Not in our lifetime.
All right, let's listen to, I think I have a second part there of the Prime Minister. I just want to share with you. Just stick around there for a minute there. All right, Dominic, I think I do have that there. Let's see if we can play this for you. Hold on. All right, let's go back. Let's take a phone call. We'll try to find that. Hello, yes? Sorry about that, caller. You there? Are you there? Let's try this call. Are you there, caller?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yes, greetings, man. Greetings.
Greetings to you, bro.
And greetings to the colonists. I'd like to say great work to you guys and what you're doing. And continue doing what you're doing. I have a question for Ellie. As it relates to her expertise in
cement?
Cement. You mentioned that when you put significant portions of cement in the soil, that it can react to other minerals. The question I have is, wouldn't it be a better option in terms of an alternative pozzolan material? A pozzolan material that would be volcanic ash as it relates to high levels of silica and iron mixed with limestone. As you mentioned that you're an expert in Roman concrete,
Yes.
I know that these two mixtures is what forms Roman concrete. Now, my family owns a significant portion of that material along the coast at the La Palais Solomon Quarry in Point Michel. And we have tested this material in its ability for that particular use. So I'm wondering if this wouldn't be a better alternative. I'd like to hear your opinion on that. Thanks again for what you guys are doing, and have a blessed day.
All right, can you answer the question?
Yes. Thank you very much for that question. Yes, pozzolana and pozzolanic material is something I do have some experience with. And my answer to that is there are two different functions. So pozzolanic materials are usually used as supplementary cementitious materials, which just means they can make binding phases. So they're part of that cement material. And the other thing is they would be used to replace the actual cement. So they would replace the bags of gray powder that you would buy or make. And those would usually be, I would say, around 20% weight replacement. Even in Roman concrete, they weren't putting very large amounts. Aggregate is around, I would say, 60 to 80% by volume of cement. And the purpose of aggregate is to be non-reactive. It's not supposed to react with the cement matrix. It's supposed to be a solid stone that just the edges of it bind with the cement, where pozzolana does have those reactive silicates, illuminates, and those will make those other strengthening phases. Their purposes are a little bit different, where you want your aggregates to not be a reactive rock, where you do want your pozzolana to be reactive, if that answers the question.
All right, let's see more calls are coming in at this time. We're going to take a quick break. I will come back, Dominica. This is Q95. This is a talk on the block. We're going to come back.
Lost my way. If I hadn't seen your mercy in the light of day, you're the strength of my heart, my holy God. When the storm rolls in, you're by my side. Be strong, be still. Trust in His word. His perfect will. Lord, linger long in short return. Morning song. The Lord is my courage when fear's at my door. He's the light in the valley, the peace in the war. When the wicked shout, I don't back away. I lift my voice and start to pray. The Lord of might, the Prince of light, I won't retreat. He hides me under His holy wing and teaches my weary soul to sing. Even when the shadows stretch inside, I see His glory in the sky. Nobody presence near, I still believe. Who shall notice me?
Unwrap the magic of Christmas with Beat. Buy $15 in any Beat product for your chance to win a $1,500 Do It Center shopping spree. To enter, just write your name and contact number on the back of your receipt and drop it in entry boxes provided, or WhatsApp a photo of your receipt and contact number to 616-8810. But hurry, entries close on December 19th. Unwrap the magic of Christmas with Beat for a happy, healthy home. Distributed by Fine Foods Inc.
This Christmas season and beyond, the Department of Social Services is calling on the hearts of every Dominican to help support those in need. On Monday, December 22, the food pantry will be officially launched. This initiative will help provide immediate, short-term food assistance to vulnerable individuals and families facing sudden hardship, chronic illness, caregiving responsibilities, or unexpected financial shocks. You can help. The Department of Social Services will be accepting donations of hygiene items and non-perishable food every Friday outside the office. Together, we can strengthen our communities and our nation and ensure that no one faces hardship alone. We can make a difference one family at a time. For more information, contact the Department of Social Services.
Madam Boboy Madi, Laupasi, Idi for the Bryson Company. Yeah, the Bryson Company. The only company I know with Bryce was cooking water and back and neck. Now with the last valley short. I said Bryce. Idi, oh, the plus nefla where you have a roofing material and seamless guttering. Yes, 24 gauge governors, all colors. Ever open Nipu gas peel agent. They program the computer to give you the exact size you want. And the seamless guttering aluminum that can better withstand the elements you have in an easy way. So no leaking after a while. And so much more. Bryson Company, the at by 8 bank close to the old mill at Enfield. Telephone 617-2468.
But do you really have money to burn? What about your commitments? Have you paid your bills? What about your telephone bill, your light bill, your water bill? What are you going to use to pay your loan? A truck of stones? NCCU wants you to continue to make wise financial decisions that will not leave you stressed. Think of your commitments. Commit to your commitments. Commit to saving. And then you can have some money to burn.
All right, we're back. Ellie, are you still with us?
No,
She's gone? All right. The second part of his utterances at the news conference. We want to hear you again, Mr. Prime Minister.
That the country is involved in mining and we're destroying the environment and we this and that, and no, this is not true. This is absolutely not true. We recognize that there were some things that should have been done differently in the start, and this is why we're correcting those and we're moving ahead with the right things that we are starting. And to ensure that at the end of the day, yes, there'll be an impact. And if there's an impact, what can we do? This is why I said in my opening statement that there are thresholds. Once they go beyond those thresholds in terms of impact, then they'll be stopped until those that can come back to the range that we require. And of course, the sedimentation pits that have been advised to be done, more of them, that will be part of the process and so forth. But anytime you do anything, whether it's a home, multi-building, or a bridge, it's going to have an impact on the environment. We're going to have to cut trees. We're going to have to dig the soil and damage the earthworm's natural habitat. Earthworms contributing to the quality of the soil. You know, there may be crabs in there. We have to affect them. And this is why you realize now you have more agoutis among us than before, because we have built homes and developments where the agouti was in a natural habitat. You understand? So before you would go in the bush to get a man, you remember that? And you won't catch one. But no, and you could tell me, look me, kill me. You understand? So that's the reality that we are doing there. On the water issue, Matt, quickly, we were a bit slow on this water review.
All right, again, yes, I just his final comments there at a news conference. But I think you guys created a video sometime last week, another video. Gary, can you talk to us about that?
Which one?
The latest one.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay.
I know you've been creating videos.
Yes. First off, I like creating videos. I think that's pretty. That's the main thing right now.
Education.
A lot of the youth and people love short form format, and that's what they engage in: Instagram, TikTok, and Reels on Facebook. And so when this started happening, I was like, I have a bit of experience in editing. I was like, I could really reach people if I do short form videos, especially make it simple enough that the general public can understand. And that was our aim And so I put out 3 videos, and a friend, we worked on the 4th video.
Okay.
So the first video was to give historical context of the area in Dewash. So we know that the area was scouted for copper mining and gold mining in the 90s.
Mhm.
The second video explained to the public what is currently going on in the Dewash area. And the third video, I wanted to touch on EIA or ESIA, which is an environmental social impact assessment. And so that is paperwork, basically the permission slip for any project that you have to follow these procedures to ensure that we understand what the impact would be on the environment.
Mhm.
And when we say environment, we're talking about the forest, talking about the rivers, the people, the air, water quality. All these have to be taken into consideration when we're doing this EIA. And by Dominican law, by Physical Planning Division Act, no project can be started without an approved ESIA. And so that was the main message throughout the video, was to explain what's an ESIA and also what is required for it, and also explain to people what actually happened. And so I try to explain it as simple and as short as possible.
The question is, have we ever, from your knowledge, have we ever had an EIA done on this project?
We've had, what is it, drafts, variables, but none has been approved.
Are you talking for Dewash?
Dewash, yes.
No. We've had drafts that we've seen drafts that have been written out, but they haven't been approved by Planning Division.
So why do they refer to it as an EIA?
And when Gary says we've seen drafts, it was presented on a screen at the community meeting. The community has never physically received any documentation. It's just bits and pieces that have been showed on a screen.
Mhm. I want to better understand, and I think I asked the question earlier of an EIA. Explain to the public, my friend, the environmental engineer there, what would include in an EIA?
Sure. So for any standard environmental initial assessment, and that's what the I is for,
Yes.
because you have to do it before, you're looking at what's in the water. So first you want to do a water quality report. That would require you to sample every source that discharges or has runoff on the site.
Okay.
When you're doing that water quality report, you want to see what's the baseline of that area, because that's the only way you will know how much you're adding on in contamination. So you have to see what contents are in the water. The second part of that is, once you know what the baseline is and you compare it to the current water plant procedure, you have to decide how much more do you have to do at the treatment center in order to meet back to standards of water quality. So drinking water has a minimal standard of how much heavy metals it can have, how much total dissolved matter, etc. Once you do that, then you also go on to air pollution. Air pollution is a very big one because you have to test for 2 standards types of particulate matter, because the sizes of these particles are enough to get lodged into the lungs and cause respiratory issues. So there's 2 main size types. You have to see how much the site already has baseline and how much it would incur after it has started. And those are just your water quality and your air pollution metrics. You have to further go on to see now what the soil contains. If there's anything in the soil that could be harmful if the runoff were to pass through it and dislodge some of the contents of that soil into the same surface waters, into the surrounding water treatment centers as well. Those are very basic. In the initial assessment, you also have ecological impacts, which I'm sure Janelle or Gary can talk about, because you also have to take inventory of what plants and what animals are in that area and who would be displaced and what their migration routes might do to impact the overall health of that environment. But from an environmental engineering standpoint, you most importantly have your air pollution and your water pollution. And all that has to come from samples in the lab, looking at the water quality reports. I personally try to look for them on DOWASCO, but the last ones I could find were from 2015. So you should see that publicly as any citizen, regardless of what's going on in that site. But those reports is what an environmental engineer also has to pull to see what they have been reporting, because any water utility is going to be already testing for those things. So when we talk about a site like this, the water utility has to be involved, and that's when the environmental engineer also becomes a liaison, because if you're increasing the amount of things that they have to treat for, you have to modify the treatment plan, right? If you just let it go into there, then now the drinking water is above the minimal standard to be healthy or potable in this case. And those are just the basic things that you should be summarizing in this impact report. It goes beyond that, depending on what type of activity you're trying to do. And for that, then it differs to the government here in Dominica. What are the rules and regulations? There are guidelines to how to fill that assessment report, because Dominica also has a unique geological topology. So for example, environmental assessment that I do, let's use the US as an example, in Florida will look different than California, that has tectonic plates, that has more mountainous areas, and then Florida, who's below the water table. So it's very specific also to location.
Janelle, let's talk about the ecological impact that we may want to see in this EIA. What are we looking for?
Well, in the community meetings, Matt, there was a section about impact on fauna and flora, but I can tell you that it was very short bullet points, and the community raised our concerns over how it was represented in this draft ESIA, because there was not enough detail. And they said, oh, well, the developer representative said, this is just stuff that we know anyways. It's general knowledge, doesn't have to be written. And we told them these things have to be written down, because if something were to happen to the community, how can we ever hold the developer or any person responsible accountable for the degradation of our environment, for the loss of food, for the pollution of water, air, for the displacement of our community? We need to know that y'all are taking this seriously. So Gary can speak more to his part study, but when we were walking the river, we already found evidence of bacterial blooming in that water, right? Bacteria blooming in the water shortly after the mine. And I want to make it very clear, because he said this. According to our Physical Planning Act, they don't define quarrying separate from mine. A quarry, so even if it is a quarry is a type of mine. That's why physical planning says quarry and other mining activities. And under the definition of our law, it comes under mining. So I'm just making that very clear. We are not inaccurate. We're not wrong in how we are saying this, whether it is for aggregates or it is for copper. They're all some form of mines. Going back to the bacteria. Yeah. So we found bacteria in the river, and this is iron oxidizing bacteria, because the runoff coming from the mine is so rich in iron that we have this bacteria that's naturally in our environment, but in a river like Pegua, it does not tend to show up in these blooms, because the iron coming off into that river is low compared to like the Sulphur Springs area, where you have that orange water naturally flowing. You'll find more of them there. Pegua is not used to that. Now, what that means is that this bacteria feeds on the iron, and it uses up a lot of oxygen to do so. So it's pulling a lot of oxygen from our river.
So there'll be repercussions there.
There already are repercussions. The oxygen level, depending on how long this happens for, the oxygen level in our river is going to get lower and lower. The fine sediments are actually, what the fine sediments do to some of our species is that it shreds their shells. So things like crabs, crayfish, VO, especially their eggs. Their eggs are not going to get the necessary oxygen or be in the environments they need to survive. This fine sediment is going to cover their homes and displace our wildlife or cover our wildlife. Like, I mean, we've already seen some of this happening, but I mean, when it comes to the question about like, I guess what is to come, or can the environment bounce back? They've already cleared about 20 acres out of the 160 acres, but it's just been a few months in that river. Yes, things are on the decline. Yes, the ecosystem is changing now, but if we were to stop it at this current point with a few floods flushing out the environment, we stand a chance right now to allow that ecosystem to come back. If we were to do this, what they propose over the next few years, that ecosystem may never come back. But
You say never come back.
never come back. Because if they clear 160 acres of land, that leaching is going to be a long-term issue in our river. But as it stands right now, with just 20 acres, if we were to stop that degradation of the area, the ecosystem stands a chance at bouncing back, especially if we were to go in, even with agencies like forestry, for example, the community, NGOs in the space. If we were to go in and help restore that area stands a chance at bouncing back as it currently is, because it's a manageable area and nature can flush itself out. But 160 acres is something that we won't be able to recover from.
Do you get the impression that they have halted the activities taking place there, Harry?
They've halted some of the activities. Or the major activities that has been affecting the area is the excavation of the topsoil. And so that would cause runoff, because the area that they excavated in has many different tributaries, little streams that exit into the main river. And that's the part that has stopped. But they're still working there. We've observed workers edging the road, and they're constructing the access road into where the crusher will be. But what they've done already, all the mass excavation that goes into our Northern Forest Reserve, because we actually have proof now from lands and surveys that it actually is encroaching within our protected lands. When rain falls, it causes a lot of runoff. And as Carrie was saying, like the effects of these runoff from disturbing the soil is now going into our rivers. And now it can't really be stopped because of the area, because of the topography. It's going to run into the river. It's going to seep into the river some way. And that's what we're seeing now with just rainfall. So right now, they are not excavating any topsoil or moving it like that. But when rain falls, we've observed and we've taken videos, every time rain falls, there's a rush of mud, water, or what we say labu, going into the river. And so we do see that. But when rain doesn't fall, the river is clearing up, but there's still traces of sediment in the water.
You also spoke during that presentation, really, the impact that this soil would have on the life in the river.
Yes.
Yes, speak to that.
So one of the things that I was talking about was soil compaction. So because of all the heavy machinery that has to come up to that site, and how much you're transporting, whatever you're transporting, heavy tons on the area around it, you're actually squeezing the air and getting the soil particles closer to each other, which means that water would not be able to move freely or saturate soils, increasing the risk for flooding, increasing the risk of us not being able to recharge our natural groundwater or aquifers here in Dominica. Soil compaction is a serious problem on an agricultural standpoint, but it can also just increase natural disasters such as landslides. Another point I wanted to make is that Janelle brought up again the blooms of the iron reducing microbial activity. One thing I want to emphasize again is because there's so much iron in that water that's taking up all the oxygen, that reducing environment, again, is able to take a less toxic form of arsenic that comes naturally from these minerals and rocks in that area and make it a more toxic version of the same element.
More toxic.
More toxic. Because the microbial activity is already very high because of all the iron that's in it. So when it's in a reducing environment chemistry-wise, so you're taking out all the oxygen, you're able to create a complex between the iron and the arsenic. So it goes from a less toxic, more stable elemental arsenic to now a bioavailable, more toxic arsenic that can go into the animals, the people of that area, into the groundwater and the runoff, into our reefs, into our oceans, because it's going to travel way farther than just the area where Dave Wash site is. There's no stopping runoff. There's no amount of tanks you can put water in where it won't try to saturate the soil. And now if you have all this soil compaction, like I mentioned, from the machinery, from the things that are going up there, from removing and moving the aggregates and dumping them into other areas, because this topsoil also has to be stored somewhere else. Now that water that was supposed to be able to be absorbed by the soil is staying at the surface, and it will continue running down agricultural lands, communities, and into the ocean more purely than it would have if the particle could do its job by absorbing to some of the organic matter in our soil. Because soil can also work as an absorption material, something that could actually help mitigation. However, if you're compacting it and then it's not allowing it to do its job, then forget about a contaminated soil. Now you're contaminating rivers, the ocean, whatever other streams of water that are in that area. And then most importantly, it's going into the drinking water and water treatment plants.
Wow. Now, I know you had three components. So you had an information component, you had an education component. That's going on as we speak. Now, what happens next? Because a lot of people are suggesting, let's go to the court. What's your take on that one? To stop what's going on.
Talk on that one.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. We're taking it in more like a three-prong approach.
Yeah.
We discussed this when we first see the situation there. We understand that we need outreach. We need people to understand what's going on. We also need the science to explain what's going on, and that's where mostly the science group in this whole campaign or this whole situation that's going on. And I'm trying to be the outreach forward for the cause, and all this is part of the outreach. We also have another approach, which is the legal aspect of what's going on, and that's when we started to look into ESIAs, exclusive agreement, all the different laws of Dominica, and see how this project is being done, if it actually follows it. And we've actually found that it has breached the Forestry Act, it's breached the Planning Division Act, and it has also breached the exclusive agreement, which we ratified last year. And so we believe that if we want to have solutions, we need to properly educate the public so everybody is on the same boat and we understand what is the next step.
So I know a lot of people are saying, well, let's raise some funds to take these people to court, but you're treading carefully before you get there. That's the point.
Well, it's a matter of when you tackle these issues, you first have to give people the benefit of the doubt. And so what we're doing right now is giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. I know it's not easy for everyone to absorb that idea. Like some of us are very passionate and very much so like no boots on the ground now. But you want to make sure everyone has the information, everyone has the science, so that we can all act on that same field and give people the chance to absorb the science and to take the necessary responsible steps. Now, if they don't take the necessary responsible steps, like Gary's saying, that's where the third prong approach comes in. Because, I only have a minor in environmental law, but there are a number of lawyers in Dominica who are very familiar with our law, who are
and they're willing to help.
Yes, of course, because everyone just wants to see Dominica and Dominicans thrive. So there are a lot of people here who want to help. And if there's anybody online who wants to pitch in their expertise or their resources in whichever way, it could be human capacity, whichever way that is, of course we welcome this, because this is a very community driven campaign, a very community-driven exercise, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
It's a collaborative approach. There's no one person, there's no one group. It's just a bunch of Dominicans who are concerned coming together. But like Gary said, this breaches at least 5 of our laws. The Physical Planning Act for sure, because of the EIA, because there's no approval from physical planning before they started moving earth and so on. But also, like Gary just said, we have confirmation from the government agencies. I mean, it's a document that's public access in our government agencies that they have indeed encroached on protected lands. So where they currently are in Debwash, part of that excavation is inside the Northern Forest Reserve, and we have the evidence to prove that they are in the Northern Forest Reserve. And anybody right now can go to Land and Survey and get that document.
So just to hit the nail on the head, they're breaking the laws of Dominica.
They are. I mean, just operating at the site without approval alone is one. That's the Physical Planning Act. But you being inside a Northern Forest Reserve, a protected area, is breaking another act, and you allowing for deleterious substance. So this runoff into the river is breaking another law.
Yeah.
So they have at least three local laws, plus they have 2 international agreements: the ESCAZU, which is access to information, the public right to participate in these meetings prior to any development project, and also safety for environmental justice. We ratified that last year, like Gary mentioned. So they have gone against what is written inside of there. And you also have the International Labour Order 169, which talks about the rights of Indigenous people, because this is affecting the Kalinago community, and they themselves have rights. So we have at least 5 acts and agreements that this is definitely going against. And people need to understand that these acts were put in place to protect Dominicans for the long haul, right? Imagine if they weren't there decades ago, we would not be in this thriving, well, maybe let me rephrase that. we would not be on this island, so blessed with an abundance of water and rich soil to grow our food on. I mean, look at what happened in COVID, right? I mean, yes, a lot of people, because of tourism, we lost our income, but we were still able to feed ourselves. We were still able to bathe, to drink water. We were still able to go outside. So many people did not have that. And we do not want to see Dominica becoming like these other spaces.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come right back.
But do you really have money to burn? What about your commitments? Have you paid your bills? What about your telephone bill, your light bill, your water bill? What are you going to use to pay your loan? A truck of stones? NCCU wants you to continue to make wise financial decisions that will not leave you stressed. Think of your commitments. Commit to your commitments. Commit to saving. And then you can have some money to burn.
All you, I just made gold winning Roseau again. Same place outside Flossie's. I tried to dock in, but you had time see me. Well, story start again. Million, lot of my power with us, huh? Sakatella, I said the same thing you doing, shopping at Flossie's, and you don't have to tell me the same thing you tell me last time because I busy. It's to hear him way. You reckon? About my pocket, boy. I won't tell you that I save money in food and drinks when I buy quantity. I save more. Oh, shucks, man. Well, when you're still telling me, I know already. To pack I expect him, why? But I can him up here to Palais. I will tell all my friends from London, US and Dominica to come to Flossie's, right next to the Rosa Market. Open Sunday to Saturday. Flossie's can't do it to you.
Creole Habit in collaboration with title partners TBS Radio, Big Edge Financial Express, the Dominican Motorist Commission, Going Global Entertainment, and the Sandman present the 2025 Dominican Music Awards, Saturday, January 3rd, 2026 at the Intercontinental Hotel, 6 p.m. The Royal Red Carpet entrance. Other partners include the Signman Calypso Artist of the Year, Texia Rio Artist of the Year, ACS New India Assurance, Calypso Artist of the Year, Nature Island Press Production, Gospel Artist of the Year, Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, Band of the Year, Do It Center, Social Media Influencer of the Year, the Republic Bank, Photographer of the Year, KFC, Junior Male and Female Artist of the Year, Courts, Male Artist of the Year, Bob and Sarah, Songwriter of the Year, Rainbow Hill Villa, Zuckerberg Artist of the Year, Joshua Francis, Album of the Year. Platinum partners include Q95 FM, NCCU, Fine Foods, and more. Other partners include TNO, Dr. Timmy and Dublin, Telnaji Sports Shop, Variety News Group, Multi-Solution Teak, and more. The 2025 Dominican Music Awards, January 3, 2026, Intercontinental Hotel. From Auto Trade, incredible savings are here. Take advantage of Auto Trade's Thrifty Thursday promotion. Mark your calendars on the last Thursday of each month. Auto Trade is offering up to 20% off items throughout the store. Yes, 20% off. But wait, here's more. Keep your eyes peeled for our exclusive Deal of the Day offer, bringing you even bigger discounts on select items. Whether you're looking for car accessories, maintenance essentials, or just browsing for a great deal, we've got you covered. So be sure to swing by Auto Trade every last Thursday. At Auto Trade, it's more than a vehicle, it's a relationship. Terms and conditions apply.
It's the season for giving and winning at ESA Trading Limited. This Christmas, we're making your holiday shopping merrier and brighter. From December 1st to December 23rd, 2025, spend $50 or more and get a chance to win $100 gift voucher every week. That's 9 lucky winners in total. 3 winners every Tuesday, December 9th, December 16th, and December 23rd. Drawn live in-store and on Facebook. And that's not all. Senior Citizens Wednesdays. If you're 60 and over, enjoy 15% off on December 3rd, December 10th, and December 17th. Mark this dates down. Double points Thursday. Shop on December 4th, December 11th, and December 18th and earn double your reward points. Super Sunday, December 14th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Also December 21st, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Massive discounts, 5% off at ESA Trading when you spend $100. 10% off at ESA Trading when you spend $150. 15% off at ESA Trading. Spend $200 or more. Don't miss out at ESA Trading. Shop more, save more, and celebrate more this Christmas. Visit us today at ESA Trading. Make this season merry and rewarding. Only at ESA Trading.
All right, Dominica, we're back. It's 12:44, huh? I'm just reading a comment from Facebook. It says there, I don't care if you're the Prime Minister or President. After listening to these 3 experts, if you're right as leaders, you don't be arrogant and stupid, but instead take advice and halt the project immediately for the sake of the beautiful island, beautiful country. If not, generations will never forget what you have done to our people and nation. For God's sake, so play. I am begging you, Roosevelt Skerrit and the administration to do what is best, what is right. I'm writing this or typing this with tears in my eyes. That's a powerful message there from a Facebook post I thought I would read to you. It becomes foolish pride when authorities are faced with the truth and do not want to admit. For this very reason, they will try anything possible not to stop, to endure open failure like this we're experiencing at this time. Good afternoon to you, Matt, and these are powerful young people. Thank you. Thank you so much for highlighting the issues there. The ILO Convention was ratified in Dominica, and indigenous rights have been neglected with the activity at Debauche as well. Let's take a few calls. I know a lot of people want to call, but we haven't had a chance to. Let's take a few calls. Are you there, caller? Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Pelder, blessings to you, sir.
Blessings to you, sir.
I am downtown listening. Let me say blessings to your guests as well and give thanks to them. I really do appreciate their intervention. Matt, you're dealing with a man they call a prime minister who admitted publicly he's not a protocol man. And he said no law, not even the Constitution, that can curtail, restrain, or restrict his actions. So you're dealing with lawlessness to the highest degree, man. And if that, in relation to America and Debauche, are unable to move Dominicans simultaneously to rise up against that level of criminality, then nothing will, my brother. Because it is not how people can be so lawless, bold-faced, ruthless, law. The man is the man have every criminal tendency, and you know not when he will stop. So the Chinese, did they just go there alone? The environmental people, lands and whatever, none of them give their green light, forestry. And then you have a man just doing what he wants, and then he come in with two potholes in his face and pretending to be smiling and just taking the country down to the gutter. My thanks to the people again and continue. Glory.
All right, thank you, my brother. Another message there. Halt the International Airport Complete project. Aspects of the project that needs the EIA. Prime Minister Skerrit is deranged, and somebody's saying there. And somebody has to help him to stop what's going on there at the airport. We saw what's happening there with our passports at this time because you never listen. Somebody's basically saying me on the WhatsApp there. So please, Prime Minister, they're begging you to stop what's going on there at Debauche. I go back to you guys, experts. I've heard the sentiments all afternoon. Are you saying stop? Or let's consider.
Saying stop what?
Stop the project.
We're saying stop the Debauche project.
The Debauche project.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about, yes.
Yes, we're saying stop.
Because
the impact it's going to cause, it's going to be irreversible at this point if they go full through with the area that they have proposed at these meetings. Right now, we believe it's about just 20 acres they've gone through, but we've looked at the map that they provided at this meeting, and it's about 160 acres.
160 acres.
Yeah, that's what we looked at it once we overlaid on GIS and looked at the bearings and everything. That's what we estimated to be about. But if they do continue like that, it's going to be devastating to the area. And we've already hiked through the area, and we've seen there's trails going all the way up into the forest. What you see on the main road is just a piece of it. All behind hills, they've digged already. They've cut roads in, and they have encroached on national parklands. And so they have already broken the law. So we are asking for them to stop, so irreversible damage will not continue.
Okay, let me get a comment from the panel here in terms of, you want to halt or you want to stop?
No, I mean, the panel here, everyone wants it to stop. But I just want to add on to what Gary was saying. The work that they claim they want to do, if they were to avoid going into our protected lands, they would not be able to achieve what they claim they want to achieve in that area. It will be too small of a land area for them to be able to get that job done, supposedly. Their supposed job done. So our thing is we want it to stop because we do not see how they could establish their mine in this area with while avoiding protected lands. And in no way as environmentalists can we ever encourage them to continue such a negatively impactful project within our protected land space. Our ancestors fought for that protected land. Dominicans, the community, embrace those protected lands. Those protected lands are what are keeping our island alive, our people alive, our indigenous community alive. So it would not be in any way responsible for us to ask them to continue with the work that they are doing, knowing that they have to go into protected lands if they want to do this project there. And also knowing, based on our geological findings so far, that the material they want for the airport, they are not going to be able to get the job done with what is in Dabewash. It would not be ethical. It would not be responsible of us as scientists to advise them to continue at this site.
I know. Let me get your views here. I know you're not a Dominican, but you seem very passionate about the subject. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say something before we go to Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
I like the efforts that we're doing so far with the outreach, and we do thank that the Prime Minister and the other ministers were at the Dabewash site. They came to look at it themselves, and he did make a remark that they are going to go over the paperwork and what needs to be done, what mitigation methods needs to be done. And we've actually observed forestry officers, surveyors at the site now. And it's because of this that we have information that they have encroached on the national park lands. So now we're like, if we hadn't speak up or hadn't do any of this, this wouldn't have happened, and no one would have been paying attention if they were in the national Northern Forest Reserve.
Okay.
So we feel like this is just a small victory. There's a temporary halt, as it is temporary, and we want it to be permanent.
Karen?
As Janelle and Gary have said, I really don't have any notes. I wholeheartedly agree with everything they're saying. The Caribbean itself is very young. We're all in this together. Any impact that were to happen to any island in this chain would happen to the rest of us. And that's another thing that we need to take in mind. As they said, the Kalinago territory is also one of the last protected groups in the Caribbean. We also must protect this because we all came from this land. We're all from here. They have to stop that project. They can't keep doing more harm to people. It's people's lives at stake here.
All right. When you come back, I'll ask you a question everybody's asking at this time. All right, we're going to come back in a minute.
Some roads get rough, but I ain't afraid, no, not tonight. 'Cause the Lord is my life.
Here's a question coming up on Facebook, and I'm going to ask it anyway. Did you call or write to the government to have a discussion or engagement about your concerns on how projects will affect the environment and the negative impact it may have? Are you willing to have a conversation with the government? They say, look in the Prime Minister's eye and say, sir, what you're doing is wrong.
Yes. We can wholeheartedly say people have reached out to the ministers in charge of the different sectors to have a meeting with the community. We've also asked the environmental engineer who had attended these meetings that these people be present because he himself couldn't answer all the questions. And he did refer to these other ministries like planning as well as environment, that we should refer to them, like they would have the answers. So we're like, well, we should talk to them. We haven't seen them or we haven't heard a reply from any of them. I've actually invited the Minister of Environment to come to the community of Concord already. We haven't gotten any...
You never had a conversation with him, one-on-one?
Yes, I had a conversation with him to come to Concord because we need our ministers, we need the leaders in that role to talk to the community, because we were only talking to the environmental engineer, but we want to hear from our local leaders, and we haven't received that yet.
But I'm asking you if you are invited at this time, on this late stage, to meet with the Prime Minister and the team, because I know they had a team of experts last week, Monday, I think, speaking to the issue, and you guys were not invited. Are you still willing at this point to meet with these experts and speak?
Yes, of course. And as you're touching on the event we had Monday, we live streamed it on Emo News. If you guys want to rewatch it, it's on released on the 15th. It was on the 15th of November.
December.
Of December, and it's a 3-hour-long live coverage. We went over, and Janelle did a presentation on what's been happening. We had the geologists who went over the geological aspect of the rocks and the different quarries of Dominica, and then Carrie did a presentation on environment as an environmental engineer, and it was amazing. And we had a lot of questions from the public, and a lot of questions were raised, and we were happy with the response. But we did invite these ministers to the meeting, and they were not present.
And a lot of people are asking on this question I'm going to ask. I've asked this before because everybody's like so amazed that you guys are, talking the truth and speaking to the powers that be. And a lot of people say, are you guys not intimidated or afraid? That's usually the question that comes up, Still at this time, you've not gotten any pushback from the necessary authorities, have you?
Matt, no, not necessarily. Not necessarily any pushback from the authorities. And I don't believe that they will push us back. And I also don't believe that we should be afraid or we are going to be afraid. Again, like we said last time, our fate is whatever our fate is. Destiny will take us whenever it's going to take us. But in the meantime, we are going to speak the truth, and we should never be afraid to speak the truth. And actually, we have found that the more we speak the truth is the more support that we get. Yeah. So we also want to encourage people out there that when you do speak the truth, you find your community, and your community is going to be the strongest thing to ever be there for you.
So the people that stand with you on this one.
But of course, people always say when certain things come up, it's almost like you're criticizing, right? Mm-hmm. But what I tell people back is your strongest supporters should be your strongest critics, right? Like if we think about our parents, our best friends, our closest colleagues, they're the ones who keep us in check, but they're also our biggest cheerleaders. So if you want to be someone's supporter, you should also be someone's biggest critic. You should be the one to come out and say, hey, you are doing this wrong for these reasons, and here's how we can do it better together. That is what a community is all about. And Dominica is a community.
Somebody's asking, is there a place we could go and donate to that cause that you guys are taking up at this point? It's not a cheap cause, but I mean, of course, people want to support you.
Yeah, I would say you can email the group email, savedebwash@proton.me. So that's at proton.me, savedebwash@proton.me, and the group will be able to guide you from there.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I won't be rest. Cold shadows fall. I heard I feel cold.
I suspect you might have to repeat this contact in a minute there, but do it very slowly. Hello, talk to me. Yes, yeah. Good afternoon.
Not to you on the listeners now.
Yes, I.
My wish for 2026 is for you or everybody else requesting to speak to the Prime Minister. There are professionals in this position who needs to answer this question, not the Prime Minister. Quit deferring to the Prime Minister. You guys are giving too much power. Whoever's in this position that needs to be asked the question, that's who you should ask the question. No more speak with the Prime Minister. You're giving him too much power. Thank you. Happy New Year.
All right, somebody said, I know we should be speaking to you guys and not the Prime Minister.
Lord is my light. I won't be afraid. He is my salvation.
Again, what is that?
I said we should also be speaking to him.
Yes, we have to. We have to. I'm just hoping that this you can strike a conversation with him one-on-one. So because you guys are very passionate about it. It's 3:00. I'm gonna get a final comment from you guys. I'm gonna call it a day. Very, very educational program here this afternoon. Then
He hides me safe where no harm can find.
A final call, a final call. Hello, yes? Never stop.
Hey, Matt, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, yes.
I am very, very lucky to get in today. But I just want to say again, kudos to Janelle and Gary and the other lady who's in there explaining to people on
Yes.
the situation at Debonch. It's a long time I have not seen such level of technical, but in layman's terms, so that everybody can understand what is meant. And I really, really want to give them the support as somebody who have been advocating for a long time that we do things right. But Matt, I know it's your final call, but I was trying to get in earlier
Go ahead.
because I'm going to try to make it quick. You guys were talking about compaction earlier, and the Prime Minister mentioned rock compaction, and I think it's misleading. And Matt Peltier, I had to do an 8-hour exam to become a professional geologist, and I think I have the right to speak on this. So when you talk about an airport runway, where density is in the compaction on the airport runway for a couple of reasons. Because when you put weight on structures like that, if it's not properly compacted, and the lady spoke about air spaces in your rock, compaction is really taking away that air space, taking away the water, and making sure that the runway is dense. That's where the density matters. So even if I have rock that is of a good density, and I don't have proper compaction of that rock onto the area where you're going to put that load bearing, or you're going to put that load, you're still going to have issues. And in addition to clay soils are expandable. Clay soils and shrinks depends on the water content. So you have moistures in clays that can determine its plasticity, and plasticity is really expansion. Matt Peltier, let me give you an example. If you drive down towards Roseau, right before you get into not Warner, that close to the coast there, you'll see some areas in the road that is sort of sinking, right? And that is because when you have trucks cycling on there over a period of time, the road tends to either slowly slip, or if it's not compacted properly, it will sink and cause what they call tension gases, and they would put gabion baskets to settle that. And here is a perfect example of compaction. If you drive up towards Benz, the huge trucks that are carrying all the construction material for the airport, you notice that the road has been forming grooves and dents and all kind of destruction. That is because when these roads were built, they were not built with the right compaction to withstand that kind of weight that is cycling on it. That is why the road's being destroyed. Matt Peltier, the reason why I'm using that example is because while we're talking about it, there are real cases of if you do not do your proper work, where you will see damage happening right before eyes. When people see these things and they hear you speak, they can relate to what you're really talking about. I know you don't have much time, but there's so much to talk. I really want to say kudos to these guys. They have done a wonderful job. I've been listening, and in whatever way I can share my experience and expertise, I'm glad to do that. And I just want to tell you guys, don't be afraid. Keep on speaking, because we are responsible for our governance and in holding our government to the job that we send them there to do. You have a good evening, good afternoon, and happy Merry Christmas to you guys, and Happy New Year.
All right, thank you very much. I'm getting more messages there on Facebook that reads, one job, great guys, great job, you guys. I'm very proud of you all. Keep up the good work. Scared is afraid of the truth. He will not openly debate with this young geologist there. 449, and let's say nothing good will happen in Dominica under the leadership of the Prime Minister, where he leads his ministers follow. In the land of the blind, one-eyed man is king. Let's go back across the table and share your final comments as we go. Yes.
So I just want to respond to that last call there.
Yeah.
So soil compaction, I was talking about it as an environmental impact, nothing to do with the airport. So one thing is that the soil compaction I was talking about as an effect of that environment around Debonch. Now, there's two things you mentioned here. The density of the rock, in fact, does not matter when you're making aggregates for the cement because as Ellie mentioned earlier, it is a chemistry. The chemistry is what makes the strength of the tarmac that can be measured to international standards. Has nothing to do with the compaction. It's all chemistry and how the limestone, the fly ash, and the rock aggregates will bind together through chemical reactions. Further, the soil compaction I was talking about was in the surrounding areas of Dave Wash where there's communities that live there. If you have soil compaction on roads, roads all have a certain standard, 5-year storms, 10-year storms, etc. That's how you create roads. When you have machinery like the ones that they're bringing up to that site and you're compacting the soil in that way, you increase flood risk for the surrounding communities. And you also put more strain on the roads that they weren't made to take on when they were initially built. Roads also have to be resurfaced at a certain time as they begin to crack and degrade. So bringing all that bulldozers, machinery, all kinds of things up to that site are degrading the road. And it's also compacting agricultural land and community land around it. And I just wanted to point that out, that there was a difference in what I was saying versus what they're doing for the cement in the tarmac.
Gary, your final comments as we go?
Yes, thank you, Matt. My final comment is that we're in the science group. We present science, and that is our background. Carrie and Janelle and myself. And so we welcome others who want to speak on the topic with other different expertise from the legal standpoint, policymakers. All these people are invited to weigh in on the topic. Of course, that we don't have all the answers for these because that's not our expertise. And we do invite other people who are willing to speak on the matter to come in the conversation. Like, let's talk. Let's continue this discussion to what's going on.
Let's exchange. Yeah.
Yes.
Janelle, and before you, when you wrap up, please give the information again because people, and say it slow this time. Say it slow.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Well, just to echo what was being said, and I mean, I guess we have to recognize that Dominica in this current time our community is very politically polarized, and we are asking people to just for a minute, for a month, for a year, just focus on Dominica. This is not about partisan politics. This is about Dominica. And yes, I mean, reading some of these comments, right? I think when we just focus on the government and comments towards the government, we're forgetting that there's a whole developer, there's a whole subcontractor, there's so many other parties who are not part of the government who are as equally responsible or perhaps even more responsible, because the government is there to regulate, right? Like, okay, maybe it might be a government project, but they are not the ones directly building the wall. They are not the ones that are excavating the land and determining what is needed where. There's a whole developer behind this. There are subcontractors behind this. So Montreal Management and the China Railway number 5 engineering group, they're the ones who are currently at the site. And so we're asking them as well to come forward, to do the respectable, ethical thing, to do the necessary testing, to be responsible to the community and to the land that they operate on. And we're asking the government to hold them accountable to our laws, to what is required, to the ethics of this land, and to help us, all these government agencies, to help the community to protect ourselves, to protect this land, to protect each other, and protect Dominica, not just for now, but for the future. So we're hoping that they would come forth with this, dialogue. Yes, we would welcome that discussion, but we would more so want to encourage them to have an open discussion, not just with us behind closed doors. We don't believe in that. This is a community dialogue. So to please come to the affected communities and go around the whole island if you want to, and sit with all of us and help us understand their science, help us understand their decisions, and let us work towards a common goal. That is our ask. And I guess to repeat the information, if anybody wants to reach out to us, whether it's to lend your technical expertise or whatever other resources you feel as if would be beneficial to the cause, you can reach us at savedeboash@proton.me. So we will put it in the Facebook chat, but it is save, SAVE, DEUX, Brosh, BRANCHES at PROTON.ME.
Repeat that again.
Okay.
I know people are running for their pens and the paper,
Yeah.
so I know how radio works. So
Okay.
let's repeat it again
Okay.
for the final time.
Save Deboash at proton.me. So SAVEDEUXBRANCHES at PROTON.me. I feel like I'm in a spelling contest.
All right, folks, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Come back anytime, okay? I suspect we're going to have another discussion early next week.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
When the wicked shout, I don't.
Dominic, good afternoon to you.
I lift my voice and start to pray. The Lord of might, Prince of light, I won't retreat. He hides me under his holy wing and teaches my weary soul to sing. Even when the shadows stretch inside, I see his glory
I've seen a comment there
in
on
the sky.
the Facebook, man.
Nobody presence near, I still believe.
You can hate a dog, but you have to admit its teeth are white, huh?
Lord is man, God,
Great educational program. Thank you, Greg Baptist.
praise your day. Oh, no. God is my ministers, and my God is mercy, bless grace above. Yeah. I walk the rest, oh shadows fall. I heard my feet won't cold. I will lean up to the day. Yeah, Lord. Some nights get long, some roads get rough, but I ain't afraid, no, not tonight. 'Cause the Lord is my light. And when that fear comes whispering my name, I just whisper his name, and the darkness runs away. The Lord is my light, I won't be afraid. He is my salvation, my debt's been paid. When the wicked rise, they stumble and fall. My heart won't tremble, I've heard his call. Who's got your back? The Lord Most High, who lifts your soul. The Saint Most High, fear comes near. My faith is firm. I'll stand my ground. He hides me safe, where no harm can find. In his secret place, peace fills my mind. He lifts my head above my foes and pours his mercy, Lord, it overflows. Who shall I fear? Lord is my strength. When trouble comes, I won't lose sight. Inside. Armies rise up, surrounding my soul, but my faith stands firm. It keeps me whole. One thing I see, one thing I crave, to dwell in His house all my days. Who walks with you? Emmanuel. Who guards your soul? The King as well. Fear not twice. Shut that door. My Savior. Praise forevermore. Oh. When my father's gone, when my mother's gone, the Lord will take me in. When the world forgets my name, He still knows where I've been. He's my home in every storm, my peace.